Alright, everybody out there in YouTube land. So it's chilly morning. Our goal is to try to make it to Grand Rivers, which is 53 miles. Or we also have Pickwick Lock and Dam, which is like 43. We got 62 yesterday. So it shouldn't be a problem. Shouldn't be a problem. So I'm going to get everything all right over there. Yesterday going 6.5 miles an hour up current. We only got like 3 miles a gallon. So we went through 20 gallons of gas yesterday, which was insane. Compared to the normal amount of time we would have went through like 8. But we're going upriver and I just wanted to move to get ahead of this cold. So we might be paying for it with gas, but we'll be enjoying the warm temperatures when we get there. We're about 442 miles from Mobile. So if everything goes good, nothing breaks down, we should get there within 10 days. And then we'll be in subtropical temperatures. So I'm going to get everything ready here, and we'll be heading out shortly. But yeah, I thought I'll show you the little inlet we had to come in at night last night. I didn't film because it was a little tricky. We only had 6.2 feet. Swing keel down at 6. I ended up putting it up right before I got in because I was going, oh. Now we're getting out of the deeper part. I'm going to go throw the swing keel down and then we'll head south. Alright, we got the keel down. Looks like we have a little bit of a south wind. We might be able to put up the sail, but overall looks like it's only supposed to be like a 2-mile-an-hour wind today. Which isn't bad. It makes the river like glass. So, we set out. We set off. So I'm excited today after Pickwick Lock and Dam, we should be going down the river. I thought just the Ohio River was upriver, but it is not. There's also the Cumberland and the Tennessee until you get past Pickwick Lock and Dam. And then it's southward we go. So, yeah. It ended up using a lot more gas. Yesterday we used, like I said, like 3 gallons a mile. I mean, 3 miles a gallon. So we ended up going for almost 20 gallons of gas yesterday. But we're rushing north, or south. I was running 6.5 yesterday. Headwind too, so I'm guessing today will be pretty close to the same, but after today I'll be able to slow down. Once I get through Pickwick, we'll be going downriver, and I think we'll be far enough south of the cold. That we won't have to be like, go, 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 go. But at least we'll be at a marina again. We'll have a plug-in, and we'll be able to have our heater on, which keeps us nice and toasty. Alright, we have the Clifton highway bridge up here. We're going to go under. We should only have 1 lock and dam to go through tonight. That should be pretty easy, and it'll be kind of right before we're done. So it'll be getting to be dark, but I think we'll be okay. Is literally only like a couple minutes from where the lock and dam is, so hopefully we don't have any delays and end up having to be there at like 2 in the morning, like when we came into Green Turtle Bay. Everybody keeps telling me there is no way you can go on the river at night, and then I keep going at night and it seems pretty peaceful to me, but gotta be careful. Like I said in my earlier videos, don't let hubris come and kick you in the butt. Not good, not good. Boat's running good. We got our rudder on, so let's just take her easy and head south. Now that is a cool house. That one has rock all around it too, so you don't have to worry about falling. Like that one we saw with all the sand. Yeah, with our cold weather reindeer suit. After we can put the hood up on the rain. levels. I don't want to say record low because I'm not positive, but it's pretty crazy the drought that we're going through in the U.S. I thought once we got off the Mississippi and came over here to the Tennessee Tom, it'd be a little better, but it's still pretty low. We're definitely not having to worry about an 8-foot channel though, so that's good, because on the Tennessee here we've always been at like 30, 40 feet of water, sometimes 60, which is nice. That was the deepest water we've been in. Where we come from on Lake Mille Lacs, the deepest part of the lake is only like 30 feet. I'm guessing once we get out in the ocean we'll beat that. Our depth sounder will go to 1,200 feet, it said. We'll see if we end up in some water that deep or not. Fellow subscriber here to the YouTube channel is going to hook us up with a mount for the phone and then a Bluetooth microphone so I can put it right on my lapel or the collar of my shirt, and then you guys won't have to deal with the motor being so loud all the time. Once we get down into the Gulf and the intercoastal down there, we should be able to do a lot more sailing, hopefully. It won't be so much of a let's rush south as quickly as we possibly can. Some of the loopers that I've seen, they're still all the way up in Alton, which is just mind-boggling to me, because Alton is a good 2-3 weeks behind, and if they, from what I was reading, I thought the upper Mississippi shut down on November 23rd. I don't know if that's just barge traffic or how all that works. Alright everybody, thought I'd show you. We're definitely in the Rocky Cliff territory now, which is pretty cool looking. It'd be interesting to have a house like that on solid rock. This one's got a really cool gazebo out over the river. You don't ever have to worry about your house falling in a sinkhole, I guess. I know in Minnesota where we are, it's all, up in Onamia, it's all clay underneath their house. So you always have to worry about it settling and stuff, and like the foundation cracking. One thing that I don't like about the soil in Onamia, if any of you guys watched any of my homesteading stuff, we couldn't just plant a garden because it's all clay and rock, because it's glacier bottom from when the glaciers retreated. And it is almost the equivalent of digging in cement, because you get maybe half of an inch and then you hit rock. The shovel just keeps hitting rocks and you got to keep digging them out. And with the clay, it makes it all stuck together, so it's not just like it's a loose pile of rock where you can shove in the shovel and throw it out of the way. So it makes doing digging really hard. I had to dig a 1 foot wide by 5 foot deep trench, 100 boiler pipeline at home, and I remember that took like 3 days. It was insane trying to get through all the rock like that. Or when we pulled up stumps, I dug up a few stumps on the homestead, and then I'd go, ooh, this one's for sale. That would be an amazing house. I bet property tax is a little spendy on the river, but boy, it would be the life to live right there. They don't have docks though, so that might be a little tricky. If I lived on the river, I definitely want a dock, so I could have the mellow and be able to take off for my adventures. But the problem would be if I lived right on the river like that, I might have the inclination to just set out and never come back. I'd love to do a circumnavigation of the world. We'll settle with the Great Loop here first. I've already learned tons and tons and tons of stuff about it. The boat, being on a boat, and living on a boat. It's amazing all the stuff you have to learn. Like working on the radio, what channel, what, all that. When we first set out, we lived on a lake before heading out. You never used your radio really to contact anybody, and you never really had to monitor all the different channels. But on the river, 13 for the barges, 14 for the locks. So you got to remember which one is which, and then luckily our radio does scan, so we're able to monitor all channels. And then I also now, after almost dying when the rudder came off, when I had the bimini frame up and the handheld radio before we had our hardwired radio, I realized you might have a radio, but unless you can get to it, it is like not having one at all. So what I've been doing is I have the hardwired radio, you know, in the cockpit or in the cabin. We have our RAM, remote access monitor, or whatever it stands for, remote helm, and back here. And then what I'll do is I don't have it right now. Bad Thomas. I should have it. I was always having my handheld right there on my life jacket so that if I fell in or if anything happened, it was right there with me. Because being a single-handed sailor and sailing, your boat does not stop when you fall off. So if your boat's going and my cell phone, because I use it for navonics up here, and the radios are all on the boat and it keeps going, you would be screwed. So a little tip for everybody, you should always goes on your boat. You should have your hardwired radio and you should have your handheld. You should have them on scan so you can get all the channels, and it just will make life a lot easier for if anything ever happens, you will be prepared. When you're on a boat, it's all about preventative things that you can think of before the shit hits the fan. Hopefully I don't get demonetized for my video on that one saying shit. It was worth it because it's the truth. You got to be ready. You got to be ready for any possibility. You can't have all your emergency prepared gear ready and put away. You know, you got to have it ready and be able to use it. I know, like, when I had to go down in the cockpit there and seizing the wire or whatever when the rudder came off, I had it in all those totes, nice and organized and put away, but keyword there was put away. So I ended up just rip everything out of there, throw it around till I got to where I knew it was and get it out, and then everything was just thrown about the cockpit or the cabin. I've been learning, you know, where to position things so that you're ready. A little thing of seizing wire and a wire cutter in there. I also have some paracord over there. I have my air horn just in case, because you might have an air horn. I've had it a lot of times in here underneath my seat, but when you're going and there's fog or whatever and you have your hand on the tiller, you can't just let go of the tiller because the boat will go like that. It'll start to veer off to the shore, so you can't. It's not like a wheel where you can just let go and the boat keeps its heading. So you got to be ready to have stuff available because you're not going to be getting up and walking all over when there's an emergency. And unlike those wood bungs that you have in case there's a hole, I've made sure at first when we started we haven't had to use them, but when we started our trip, I just had them in the plastic bag. I think I showed you guys. And they were put away, and I didn't even have the hammer close by. So if something would have happened, I would have been digging around for them, then I would have had to find a hammer, and then I would have been sinking. So now we have one of the right size, like taped right next to any of the through holes, and then I have my little rubber mallet down. Can't reach below the cockpit stairs there, so it's just real nice and easy to grab. And then we also have the winch handles for the swing keel there that we would be able to use in a pinch as a hammer. Someone was telling me you could use your winch handles for a hammer, and I was like, oh, I don't know if that'll work, because I have the floating plastic ones with the big metal square on the end. So I was looking, and then I was able to figure out that I do have a metal handle for the winch for the swing keel, and that would work. So I have that down there, so I could reach it and grab it real quick. I'm thinking maybe throw it up here in one of these foaming boxes, but there's not much room in them, so you don't want to have all your line up or anything. That's one of the things that you always have to do when you're sailing. Make sure you clear your lines after every little adjustment and everything, so they're not all over and tangled, and you get tangled up as well. So, all about being safe on a boat. And let me think of some other little things I can think of that are things that you should be prepared for. I can't think of them offhand right now. It's still early. But we have learned a ton. It's just take it all in. Everything you want. Just living on a boat day to day, and then having to go through all these really interesting hurdles that we had to jump over, like losing your rudder and stuff, made the adventure much, much more interesting, and it allows you to learn. Learning always, and it's amazing. If you're going to live on a boat, you definitely need to be open to learning as much as possible and always learning new things. If you're one of those people that's like, doesn't like learning or researching things, or thinks you know everything, yeah, might get bit in the butt here on the rivers, because they are not forgiving. I know when I was like in the 3rd or 4th day of my trip and it said record low water levels, I posted on my Facebook, I'm like, the Mississippi knows I'm coming and wants to make it a real challenge. And at the time I was thinking, oh, just low water, that won't be a problem. Or maybe not be able to get into a few marinas. And looking back, I'm like, nah, there was a lot more that can happen. Especially with the way the current is, and everything is just different. Like in the upper Mississippi there, we had a lot of dead pools because there wasn't a lot of water running between the locks and the different pools. So when we would anchor, sorry, I gotta switch hands here. When we would anchor, we would do a lot of hunting, they call it, which is what I showed you, where the boat would kind of get positioned by the slight current, and then the wind would hit the back end of the boat and push you forward, and you'd end up doing a big circle all night, which can be a little nerve-wracking because an anchor is meant to set, like one way, and you kind of get like a 180-degree circle. I always call it making a smiley face on your chart plotter when you're swinging. And then when you swing to that other 180-degree side of the circle, it can be a little nerve-wracking because you don't know if the anchor is going to flip over and reset, if your swivel's going to work, or how all that works. So, it's pretty cool. Just heading on down the river. We have somebody up here on shore taking our picture. All the loopers are kind of starting to know who I am and stuff because of our pirate flag. I'm definitely glad I brought that along. Someone before I left said, you shouldn't bring your pirate flag. There's laws. You can only display certain flags, or the Coast Guard's going to get mad, blah, 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 blah. And I've actually talked to the Coast Guard. When we were back there at Paris Island, there was the Coast Guard ships right there. And I asked them, when I get down into the Gulf and that, is there anything that says I can't have my red pirate flag against, maritime law or anything? And they said, no, you can display any kind of flag you want. If there's like a situation, though, where you have to display certain flags, like a quarantine flag or call it. I'm not sure if it's called semaphore. That might be Morse code. I'll have to look more into it. Code system with flags spell out different things and indicate different things. Like you're at anchor, or you're underway under engine, or you're sailing. And they were saying, you know, if you have those and are displaying those, you can't make variations on them. They have to be what the have already been set up as a standard. So, but otherwise, having the red pirate flag is no problem, and it's kind of cool. It lets people kind of know who we are. And the barges have said they've been able to spot that a lot easier on the horizon than me, because the mast is not visible, but a big red flag is. So we want to be as visible as all the barges and any other bigger boats. So something to think of if you're doing the loop in a sailboat. Maybe get a bright colored flag like that just to help you out. So things are going good. I'm hoping we're gonna stop at Pickwick Lock and Dam, because it's only 57 miles or 47 miles, or no, 53 instead of like 63. Grand Harbor, which is right over to where after you get off the Tennessee River, was our other option, but there's a lot of loopers going there today, and I'm not sure if they're going to have an opening. And at the time we set off, even as early as I wanted to leave at like 7, but we ended up, the rain was coming down still, and at the marina there, I had to wait for the wife of the owner to come and turn on the gas pump. But it was real cool. I called her up, or I called the owner, Christopher. He's super, super friendly. And his wife came down, and they opened up the gas pump so I could get out of there about 8:30. Otherwise, they wouldn't have opened till noon today. It's a Tuesday. It's getting to be the end of the season, and a lot of these marinas and stuff don't have reduced hours. Monday, normally they're closed completely. But because we were all coming in last night and got there at about the same time, right before dark or a little after dark, he came down and helped us all dock up, and then he opened up the bar, and it was real cool. One of the loopers had a birthday yesterday, and she was able to go up into the bar and have a drink with everybody, and everybody wished her happy birthday and stuff. That was before I got there. I'm always the last getting everywhere because I'm a slowpoke. We definitely cruise a lot slower than everybody else. We go 5 knots pretty much. Life at 5 knots. Whereas everybody else, they go like 8, 9 knots in those powers. It was kind of cool for a few days there. We had that boat Avalon that was with us. And she and her 3 little puppies, they travel a little slower, and so we were able to kind of buddy boat there for 2 days, which made it real nice, because then we had each other to help out. If we didn't have, she had T-Mobile and I have AT&T, so I was able to call like with the white tin roof. I was looking and I almost thought it was snow, but there's tin. That's cool. Really cool having like a buddy boat thing going on, because then like if my phone didn't get service, she could call ahead and get our reservations, or if I had service, I could call ahead and get our reservations. And then when we were back at Green Turtle Bay, I was able to replace a compatible water pump for her, and then she made me dinner. She grilled some boneless chicken thighs, and made us like a chicken teriyaki that was amazing. So, worked out for me. I got some good food that was not just canned food like I've been living on, and it worked out for her because she wasn't really sure how to change the pump. So, I definitely have to say, hats off to her being a single woman doing the Great Loop by herself. That's got to be a little tricky. Got her 3 dogs, and that might even make it a little trickier, because you got to always figure out a way that they can go out, go to the bathroom, and and all that. But anyway, it was just nice kind of having a buddy boat going along there. Made stuff a lot easier. And then she went slower too because she doesn't like burning too much fuel. If she went at about the same speed we went, like 5.2, 5.3 knots, comes out to 6.8 miles an hour. She would only burn 1 gallon an hour of diesel. And if she went any faster than that, it ends up being like exponentially more. And she doesn't want to do that because diesel is like $7 a gallon. Although the gas we just got there at the last marina was $5.97 a gallon. So that's something you guys need to know too, is if you plan your trip and you got all your budgeting done, remember marina's fuel is way more than it is at the gas station. I'm definitely over budget on fuel costs because I was thinking normal land prices for gas, and that is not what you get. There was a few times that I think it was Green Turtle Bay, we paid almost $7 a gallon for gas, which is just insane if you think about it. And I can definitely see what she was saying about when you speed up, it ends up being exponentially more fuel. Because if we go 5, we end up getting about 10 miles a gallon. If we pop it up here to 6, well, full throttle, go 6.5 or whatever we make depending on the current. Like right now we have the current must have picked up because we're only making 5.8, 5.9. And yesterday we were making 6.5. So you just gotta, depends on the current. And I think we have a little bit of a stronger headwind today too. Makes me wish we had some wind like the other day when we were at Kentucky Lake when we were hitting 8 miles an hour up current. Or the Ohio where we hit 8 knots up current. So that was like almost 9 miles an hour up current. And the hull speed for this boat is like 6.57 knots. Anything above that you start to use, takes exponentially more power to get it going faster. So I'm guessing that's kind of why we end up using more fuel. But if we go from 5 miles an hour, well, it's hard to compare, I guess, miles an hour with how the current is. But if we would go our standard, you know, what we used to do, which was like half throttle, a little over half throttle when we were coming down the river, 10 miles a gallon, no problem. Now that we're at full throttle and just trying to get as far and as fast as we can south, we end up only getting like 3 or 4 miles a gallon. So it's almost half, and it's not that much more speed. So it's kind of crazy when you think about it like that way. Also, when we were buddy boating with that other boat, they would go in front of me, and I'm wondering if it would help because it broke the water a little. Like you would go off to the side, you wouldn't go directly behind them because you didn't want their prop wash coming back and pushing you, and you didn't want to be like right in their wake, so you would go back a little ways to either side, and then I think it broke the water because it gave us a little bit more speed. She doesn't like going at night. She gets really bad anxiety, she said, so she broke off last night and anchored, and I ended up doing the 2 more miles to Clifton there. So we'll head on. I'm sure we'll see her downriver again. Her goal is, I believe, Key West. That's where she's from. And, yeah, so we'll see her again. And then the Aussies, there's an Australian couple. They're back at Clifton there. They have to get a starter motor. And then they'll be coming, and they travel at like 10 knots. So they'll catch up to us, too. And then we'll have some other loopers that we actually know, which kind of gives me a peace of mind. I don't like hanging out with people. I have social anxiety, and But it's nice to have those people in the area that you know, so if anything happens, you can kind of have somebody that you know to talk to, and or like if they're up ahead at a marina, you can call them and be like, hey, will you reserve me the courtesy car so I can run to the store or whatnot. So, all right, morning blab session is over. We haven't had one of them in a while. So onward downriver we go. Super cool. It'd be really cool to live right on the river like that. That there's one of the caves, but you know there's a treasure in there. Must really be getting the current around this corner because we're down to 5.2 instead of our normal like feel it too. Then I wish we had some wind in our favor, but as you can see, it's a headwind the whole way. Definitely cool little houses there. Well, I think that sunken barge is permanent. They made it into like a little pier kind of, but you can see the grass growing on it, so that must have been there for a while. Barge sinks, new shoreline. Get a little better view of it. Alright, we came around that bend and the wind is behind us now, so I threw out the full Genoa, all 130% of her. Now we're hitting 5.9, we were up to 6.3 there. So it gave us a good another mile an hour. Motor sailing. Definitely the houses are close to the channel here. I'm guessing if the water was up it wouldn't be so bad. This tree here is really, really cool looking. But yeah, that's got to be crazy living that close to the channel. And then with barges going by in your backyard. But also probably pretty cool. I see there's stilt houses, so they're all prepared if there's ever a flood here on the Tennessee.
All right, thank you, sir.
Boy, they got some tight channels here. And you can tell all the water's coming through. We went from almost 6 down to 5.2 there for a second. More rocky shore. Lots of back and forth on this little part of the river. Pretty sure I mentioned it this morning, but I'm not sure. Everything on my mind. It would have been 24 miles as the crow flies, or 47 on the river. This part of the river. I'll show you. Snaky snake back and forth, and down there where that big part comes off the river, that's where the block is, and right where we're headed. There's a back and forth. You get to sail up for a teeny bit, and then you got to bring it back in, then you get it out. But it makes it fun, and then you get some practice doing the roller furler. Right now I have it in. We have a good wind, but as you can see, we got to turn up that way. Be right into the wind then. Well, I guess this is an example why it's better to have your house on a rocky shore instead of a muddy store or a dirt store. Yeah, wow. That would be a bad day. I hope nobody was in there when it fell. That would be a real bad day. Alright, here we're coming up to another bridge. Like what I would think of a southern plantation in my head. That's a cool house. That's got to be a spendy one. Big house, big lawn, boat access right there yourself. Life is good for whoever that is. Ooh, we're getting some good currents here through the bridge, or under this bridge here. If you look at the chart plotter, it's a with us today. I was in front most of the way, but I had to take a pee break, slow down there, and then they got in front of us. But we'll be getting to this Pickwick lock and dam together, and then heading over to the marina. That's the plan. Always good to have another boat going with you for the day, just in case anything happens. Lock and dam. Current is something fierce here. We went from 6.2 down to 4.8. I feel like we're on the Ohio again. We do have some wind in our favor, but we gotta get up into the lock here. So I'll come back once we get up in the lock. We're headed out. Alright, here we are at the Pickwick Lock and Dam. Vessel Yucca's up ahead of us. The lockmaster said it shouldn't be too long and he'll open it up. I was talking to the Yucca and some other people online, and I actually found out we are not done with against the current yet. It won't be until we get past, I guess, the Great Divide, Bay Springs. So a little while longer. After the lock and dam, it shouldn't be very much farther, and then we can head over to the marina. Kind of funny, they had a warning dangerous water sign. I'm guessing because of how strong the current is here, you would definitely not want to go in or be in the water. So it shouldn't be too much farther, and we'll be good to go through the lock and dam. Got a little bit of a wait, and then we should be able to get on in and get locked through. So it shouldn't be too hard. We'll throw the motor in neutral. We're getting kind of close to shore there, so I wanted to come this way. The Yucca. So when I called the lockmaster, he said give him a 15-minute heads up, and we did. Oh, there we go. There it went green. Should be opening the doors now. Alright, everybody out there in YouTube land, we made it. our buddy boat Yuka and us made it in, and I like to say that was probably the trickiest marina we've gotten into. You really had to go, and your Navonics actually took you right into a place that would not have been good. It would have taken you right into a barge hook mooring. So don't trust your Navonics coming into Pickwick State Park Marina. Definitely check your chart plotter. So I'm going to call it a night, and I'll see you guys in the morning.